Mercedes proved their clinical edge in 2018 with them wrapping up their 5th consecutive World Constructors Championships, with, in my opinion, them not having the fastest outright car throughout the season. They definitely deserve to win the championship on strategy and just outright team performance. And just within the team depth, they were much stronger than Ferrari with strategy calls and just everything. They put so much effort into 2018 and it massively paid off. Now, surprisingly, Mercedes weren't actually the strongest when it came to engine performance, which basically has been their bag since the V6 turbo hybrid era began. But the thing that they were stronger in their chassis over Ferrari was their cornering speed. They could approach corners, especially fast corners, much better than the Scuderia. But in slow speed corners, they were, I think, a bit slower than Ferrari, but still, Mercedes had a great package in 2018. But another thing that helped Mercedes in 2018 was the quality of their drivers. Now, although I don't think Valtteri Bottas was superb in the 2018 season, he picked up precious points where they needed them most. And for Lewis Hamilton, he obviously won the World Drivers' Championship, and that really did help Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship, which they eventually won in Sao Paulo. Merck's best race of the year for me was the Japanese Grand Prix, because they just had the pace the entire weekend and were just utterly dominant. They were untouchable, and even though Max Verstappen pressurised Bottas for second place in the end, it was just clear that Mercedes' package was just so much quicker than everybody else in that specific time, and their drivers were on the top of their game. But I tell you one thing for sure, the Spanish Grand Prix was definitely close. But for the Silver Arrow's worst race of the season, I'm just split on two. The Austrian Grand Prix saw both Mercedes retire, and to be honest, they were the fastest car that weekend, but a poor strategy call after a VSC where Bottas retired, as Lewis Hamilton lost out as well, obviously in the pit stop phases, and then getting overtaken by Sebastian Vettel and then retiring from the race. That just compounded the miserable race for the Silver Arrows. But obviously another race was the Mexican Grand Prix, where the Mercedes car was easily the 3rd quickest car in the field. But because Lewis Hamilton won his 5th World Championship there, I think their worst race was Austria, because they just blew massive points through reliability and strategy. In my opinion, Lewis Hamilton endured his best season in Formula 1, claiming his 5th World Championship along with a further 11 race wins and pole positions, 17 podiums out of 21 races. And although Ferrari I thought were the quicker car throughout the season, this for me illustrates why I think Lewis Hamilton had his best season in Formula 1. He just really rose to the occasion when he was under pressure and brought out some racecraft when he needed to. And even when the Mercedes car was not very quick throughout the weekend, he still got the points when it mattered, like in Monaco. He was never going to win that race, but he still got the points to build on his championship season. Another thing I have to mention about Lewis Hamilton's 2018, that his qualifying speed by the end of the season got absolutely brilliant. He started off the season very shaky in both qualifying and the race, but he progressed throughout the season and just built himself up to be a mighty driver at the end of this season. And it's fair to say that reliability weren't actually on Hamilton's side this season. He had to take a grid penalty in Bahrain, carrying over from a reliability in Australia. Then you have that Austria incident, and obviously Kimi Raikkonen crashing into him at Silverstone, and obviously that hydraulics failure in Hungary, and that near miss to a retirement in Brazil. So reliability didn't actually go Hamilton's way for the entire of 2018. But anyway, now he is a 5-time world champion and should be regarded as one of the true greats of our sport. When it comes to Hamilton's best drive of the season, I'm split between two, and I'm going to go for both of these. The Italian Grand Prix. Ferrari clearly had the fastest car throughout the weekend, but Hamilton's supreme racecraft during the Grand Prix saw his way to victory at Ferrari's home ground, and this was one of the turning points in the championship. But the next race in Singapore saw Hamilton pull out probably the best qualifying lap of his entire career in a car that definitely wasn't 3/10 quicker than the Red Bull, and a car that was definitely not 6/10 quicker than the Ferrari. In fact, it was pretty much equal in terms of car performance the entire weekend. And in the race, Hamilton just controlled the Grand Prix on his way to another Marina Bay win. For his worst race of 2018, I'm going to pick Lewis Hamilton's worst race as the Chinese Grand Prix. Now, you might think the Canadian Grand Prix, but I think a bit of a reliability issue hindered his pace somewhat, but I'm still going to go with the Chinese Grand Prix. And although a strategy didn't go his way when it came to the safety car, Hamilton just had no pace the entire weekend and was actually lucky to finish 4th. But anyway, I regard Hamilton's 2018 as his best season out in Formula 1, and maybe he might go for the Magic 6 next season. In my opinion, Valtteri Bottas was worse in 2018 than he was in 2017. He was way off the pace and ended up behind Kimi Raikkonen and Max Verstappen in the standings, coming home P5 in the World Drivers' Championship. And this was due to the lack of pace Bottas produced during numerous Grand Prix, but that is not to say that he was very unlucky during the season. He should have won the Chinese and Azerbaijan Grand Prix, but reliability and just pure unluckiness, if that's a word, cost him those victories. Sebastian Vettel wiped out Bottas in France, and then you have just so much bad luck for the wingman. And although all this happened, I still think he was better in 2017 because he was much closer to Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, and at times looked like a title contender that season. Bottas's best race of the season for me has to be the Russian Grand Prix, because from qualifying 3 to the race, he was definitely the best driver in the field and only team orders stopped him from winning the race. The Finnish driver's worst race of the season for me has to be the US Grand Prix, and although this wasn't a surprise to me because Cota is not a very good truck for Bottas, he was still very poor and finished behind a driver that spun on lap 1, just illustrating what a pathetic performance it was from Bottas. For next season, Valtteri Bottas for me has to become a more aggressive driver, and that's what cost him the victory at the Bahrain Grand Prix. If he gets his elbows out next year and gains a psychological advantage, I think there's a real chance he can win about 3 or 4 Grand Prix next season like he did last year. But anyway guys, that is it for today's video. Please like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and until next time guys, see you later.